Hello my lovelies, welcome back to the channel. This is going to be our weekly shadow work, and this is the deck that I prefer to use, the Tarot of Light and Shadow. So it's two decks that work in tandem together to show us what we're keeping hidden, what are the things we need to bring to the surface that need healing or need some work, and the light side helps show us where we can rectify those changes or how we can make changes and find the balance. So I like to start with the shadow side, the side that we keep hidden. All right, let's see what we have from our shadow side. I'm going to pull 12 cards from each of the two decks today, and we'll see what we have. Knight of Cups, Temperance, Queen of Swords, making a mess over here, the Devil, the Tower, Two of Swords, Knight of Swords, the Hanged Man, Five of Wands, the Chariot, Judgment, and Queen of Serpents. All right, my lovelies, we start with the Knight of Cups as our first shadow card. The Knight of Cups dazzles us. He is someone of perfect gentleness and the spiritual darling. In the Grail story, he would be Galahad and the knight, so perfect that he is destined to win the mighty cup. In the ordinary world, he is an idealistic dreamer whose charms most people find hard to resist. A sense of otherworldly glamour hangs about him, a secret knowledge hidden just below the surface. His sense of vision is often accurate, and as a companion, he offers true guidance. Many fall in love with this romantic dreamer, but it is possible that he has grown careless as he engages with life and finds less to challenge him. Tossing aside the seemingly empty cup is to forget the last drops, which may still contain essential wisdom. Be careful not to let sentiment rule your head. So don't get caught up in your emotions. It's really going to be important that if there's something else that you need to learn from a situation, that you make sure that you gain all of that wisdom before letting go. Temperance. Is temperance tossing out the contents of a wineglass or a vessel full of snakes? In the world of the dawn light, it is the former. In twilight, the latter. But both are filling a much larger cauldron with either content. Here lies an issue which makes this card perhaps the least well understood in our time because of its association with refraining from alcohol or excess. Yet we should remember that she is another of the four cardinal virtues, and of course means a great deal more than this, being more concerned with a balanced outlook on life and restraining way of living. The origin of the world is from Latin tempere, meaning to exchange or mingle, hence the traditional tarot image of a woman pouring liquid from one vessel into another. While here we have made another twist on the original by replacing water and wine with wine and serpents. Even in the classic imagery, the meaning is more to do with the exchange of fluids, the mingling of two streams of energy, or even past and future experiences. To all provide greater balance. Temperance thus represents a balanced view of life as capable of renewal in even the darkest of circumstances. The twilight world tells us that living life temperately should not just be about perpetual motion or impulsive action. Instead, it shows us that sometimes it's best to allow the problem to work itself out. While an intemperate attitude may drive us to increasingly furious responses where a more measured approach would be better, we can still look beyond these things. To ignore this approach can result in quarrels, clashes of will, and increasingly fragmented life, which can lead us to turn to illness. The truth of the card is that balance is all important, and that keeping a foot firmly in both worlds is a lot more productive than focusing entirely on one side or the other. So balance somewhere in your life is really, really needed right now. Queen of Swords. The Queen of Swords looks at us from a position of power. She can be a stern judge and a fierce critic, but her balanced wisdom shines through everything she says or does, and as such, she is a shrewd and perceptive ally on the journey through life. Her presence in a reading calls on us to take stock of where we are and what we truly desire. Whatever we think we have asked, there may be a deeper meaning beneath the more superficial question. Here the Queen balances two swords upon either palm, judging their qualities for whatever purpose they and she may be required to bring to the situation. She brings her experience and the innate wisdom of one who has seen much in her life. Be ready for action. So the Queen of Swords for me in a reading is always something where you need to see the truth for what it is and be willing to eliminate some obstacles. And it looks like love could be an obstacle right now, as well as finding balance. So use one of those swords and cut away the things that are creating imbalance in your life right now in order to really get back on track of where you want to be in life. The Devil. Rather, as the Christian Church used the figure of the fallen angel Lucifer as a peg on which to hang every possible manifestation of evil, so in the tarot card of the Devil, the central figure has nearly always been represented by a monstrous, deformed creature. Before the Devil ousted all earlier creatures of darkness and negativity, the image was probably a representation of Typhon, the vast dragon monster of classical myth who emerged from the underworld, brandishing a flaming torch and bringing disaster in his wake. More recently, following the exoteric revival of the 19th century and the blossoming of pagan beliefs in our own time, the Devil has become identified with the god Pan, spirit of nature and carefree abandonment, and as such has been deemed a positive influence rather than an evil one. Yet despite this, the essential meaning has not changed. In whatever form he comes, the Devil brings connotations of self-aggrandizement, or if we think of him in terms of magic, as the black magician whose aim is only to raise power for himself, rather than the white magician who seeks to raise power to help others. Our Devil has an air of insolence, casually inverting the flame and his own shadow self. Some will recognize in themselves the feeling that they are too perfect to find anyone who can reach their impossibly high standards. Others are simply afraid to acknowledge that anything or anyone is more important than their own personality. It is all too easy to become trapped by this narrow self-delusional approach, which sooner or later leads to the poisoning of life itself. It could be said that this card suggests a harsh journey to reality, where delusions fall away. In the shadow realm especially, we see the change of breaking free of such negative emotions. We are encouraged to look deep into the dark water of our souls and to become what we are meant to be. This is the call of destiny that we are to try and escape so often. So the Devil always symbolizes that there are things that are keeping you stuck, trapped, or bound. You might be stuck in addictions, codependent behaviors. You might be stuck in a toxic relationship. You might feel really stuck in a situation in life. This card indicates that if you see it for what it is, you are truly strong enough to overcome any sort of obstacle that might be presented to you, or anything that you might be struggling with. You will find a solution if you look past your own ego. The Tower. The lightning-struck tower, also known as the House of God, the Hospital, or the Thunderbolt, is one of the oldest and most consistently reproduced images in tarot. The origins of the image go back to the Middle Ages, where there are numerous references to towers broken down by God's lightning, sometimes followed by scenes depicting the expulsion of humans being from paradise. It also reflects the fascination of the medieval world with the story of the Tower of Babel, which became a symbol of the desire of powerful rulers to control more of the world around them and reminded them of the results of pride and hubris. The card is generally seen as portending a difficult time, but it is important for us to not always to assume the worst in a tarot reading or in any part of life, but rather to see beyond the immediate and darker events to a place where calmer seas await us. In the mirrored card, we see the remains of the tower still standing. Its denizens may seem ghostly, but they have not fallen to dust. The immediate response to a drawing this card in a reading may seem shocking depending on the circumstances. But it is important to remember that change is not always a bad thing, and that the lightning strike may represent a flash of insight or inspiration which can lead to a reassessment of your life path, beliefs, or intentions, as well as a painful readjustment or something that requires confrontation before peace can result. None of these things are necessarily easy, but if we allow the fire to consume the tower in which we have established ourselves, the outcome can be both positive and restorative. So the tower gives us an opportunity to see things in our life that need to change, whether it be a dramatic change, a complete overhaul, or something that maybe isn't quite as dramatic, but we gain the insight. So let the tower crumble so that something can be rebuilt better and stronger from the ashes after it falls. Two of Swords. The Two of Swords traditionally signifies an impending breakup or a rift, and in readings, the adjoining cards will generally reveal what is moving away from what. The sense of being bound together with something or someone when broken can enable freedom of expression to return. The sword cuts both ways. This often manifests as a feeling of restraint and the inability to move ahead. There is a sense of ambivalence around this card in the realm of shadows. We may feel lost at times, giving way to arguments and disagreements. The swords here resemble shears, but it is also crossed in a sign of guardianship and direct engagement with the struggle. So there's some sort of decision that needs to be made, and for whatever reason there's hesitation or lack of actual decision. So remember that no decision is still a decision, but there's some sort of thing that you need to see more clearly. You need to remove any blinders about this decision and know that you are protected on your path. So when you make the choice to finally see things clearly, the new path will finally open up for you. Knight of Swords. The Knight of Swords is a good person to have on your side in a tight spot, yet he can be a ruthless and determined and knows no boundaries. There is a sense of innocence about him also, and he possesses great integrity. These qualities may be present in the issues that you are concerned with and apply just as much to your own actions. The Knight often evinces righteous indignation. Writers, journalists, and researchers are often represented by this card. The Knight is a willing champion, possessed of integrity and ethical insight, who feels righteous indignation over wrongs that he sees. He has the courage and strength to tackle anything, be it a windmill or a serpent. His shadow self knows what's what and is less impulsive than his light aspect. So the major caution with this card is that you want to make sure that you're not getting in over your head. And make sure that if you are somebody who tries to right things that are wrong in life, that you do it from a place of pure intentions. That you want to make sure that you aren't, putting yourself out there in a place where maybe you haven't got all the facts. So do your research before you go and bite off more than you can chew. But the Knight of Swords is somebody who rushes in bravely, and he goes to defend his honor, and he also goes to take on challenges. So he's a very brave individual. The Hanged Man. The Hanged Man gaily swings in the wind, held between sky and earth. He perceives life from upside down, but with a different view that brings its own rewards. Traditionally viewed as a card of stasis, of loss and challenge, it can also mean a fresh start in troubled times. Historically, the card might refer to Musano Attendolo Sforza, who's having been raised up to a prominent position by the Pope. Turned against his benefactor, the Pope ordered painting of Attendolo to be made showing him hanging exactly in the card imagery as he is shown, which were displayed at every gate in the city of Rome to shame him. Since the meaning of the card can be seen to suggest a turning away from traditional values, sometimes more starkly rendered as treachery, this world not to be out of place. The man hangs by one foot, his head towards the earth, drawn away from the high principles of heaven toward a darker feeling of the underworld. We may also see that in the light card, the tree is leafless, while in the twilight side, it is a full leaf. Such apparent contradictions are all part of the enactment card. In most instances, the peaceful demeanor of the Hanged Man suggests an awareness of more than one possibility and a willing to follow where either may lead. Thus, the card in a reading can suggest that the best course of action in any situation may be to do nothing, and that rather than seeing this as a negative, passive solution, it may point to us to a wisdom that transcends the issue. In the Twilight Realm, we see many new and striking opportunities, which may not be revealed in the light of day. So this card's really about shifting your perspective, and maybe you are trying to break away from something that leaves you feeling like you're stuck. Maybe it's something that you need to see things in a different light in order to gain some clarity, in order to truly set yourself free from obstacles. There is some sort of decision that really does need to be made, and it does feel like things are going to change regardless of whether you make a decision or not. So by empowering yourself to see things in a new light, you open up a new possibility that you yourself can choose to take action on. 5 of Wands. There has always been an element of struggle about this card, and the contest for wealth and power may underlie it. Though on the surface it remains a card of wealth and prosperity, it also points to the dangers of too much success or of living life too much to the full. Although the card on the whole well aspected, there is an inherent danger that overconfidence could lead to a breakdown in communication and a lesser degree of success. As the card concerns wealth and the abundance of everyday aspects of life, we may not perceive this negative aspects. All too often, when everything is handed to us on a plate, we tend to forget that riches carry their own negative aspect. Remember that regulation and enforcement may also keep competition at bay. So this is a card indicating that you might have a lot of clashing egos, a lot of conflict, and a lot of competition for whatever it is that you do to earn money. So there could be battles at work. There could be some sort of competition for what you do to earn a living. And so the clashing egos really need to be set aside. And you need to remember that sometimes the rules and enforcements of these rules are really what's helping to keep the competition at bay. So embrace the rules, even if you don't like them, even if you'd rather break tradition and you'd maybe rather not do things the way that they're meant to be. There's reasons why there's rules. And so if we follow those, things tend to go a lot smoother. The Chariot. An unstoppable force, movement from beginning to end. The Chariot drives through the mists of uncertainty like a clever, scattering doubts and misunderstandings, opening the way ahead. There are several acknowledged pairings within the sequence of the major arcana, and in many cases the Chariot is said to balance the lovers in that it represents war, or at least a warrior attitude, in balance with the gentler energy of the card 4. The Chariot here represented by the mighty form of an elephant rather than the traditional horse offers support and protection to the seer entering into a visionary state. The rider on the elephant on the one hand selects an arrow from his quiver, perhaps again referring to love's arrow. On the other, he prepares to let loose the shaft as shown on the shadow side. This tells us that the charioteer needs to harness both emotion and will to succeed. In the Twilight Realm, the pattern is the same, but suggests that you may well attempt to climb the hill, but end up falling back down. In every case, the inherent meaning is to do with harnessing your best qualities to give you the needed energy to bring about a successful conclusion. It is also about the discovery that you may make when lying at the foot of the hill looking up. From this angle, all looks different, but be careful, for if the energies of determination and assault are out of balance, the result may be other than wished for, with the howdah falling from the elephant's back, leaving the passenger stuck without further movement backward or forward. So this card represents a lot of stagnation, and definitely where you feel like there is an insurmountable challenge. I really feel like that has to do with the Devil card in this reading and the Tower as well, that there's a lot of things that are out of balance right now that really need adjustments in your life. And in order to gain some clarity, you need some balance. So start with eliminating the things that you can and the things that don't serve you, whether that's a relationship, whether that's a job, a situation, things that aren't serving your highest good, and you start to slowly climb that mountain. Judgment. Most traditional decks from the earliest times to the present depict judgment as an angel blowing a trumpet to awaken the sleeping dead to rise and follow him to heaven. In some, God also appears flanked by two angels, again calling home the faithful. But here judgment speaks to us of the two ways to see the 1,000 little deaths in our lives. To be able to be born again, we have to first die. In the center of the card rests the phoenix, a creature that can bring about its own renewal by casting itself into the flames of a fire as it has built for itself. In the light of the sun, it returns to life, born from its own ashes. It is drawn towards the sun, where it sits, the Anton of Akhenaten, the eye of God, the original source of life. In the shadow realm, the phoenix is consumed, turning to dust, fire ensuing from its beak, its wings turning to ash. But through the bird disintegrates, from its death life will return, and in an endless cycle. Sometimes we too must cast ourselves into the renewing fire to find the road to restoration. When you focus on this card, you may think that you see a plain and simple change of approach to the way that you view a situation, or a far more earth-shattering call to change the direction of your entire life. But the reality is far more subtle. The card often appears at a time when you may be at a crossroads in your life and need to make the appropriate decision as to which path to take based on your own judgment. The imagery of the phoenix offers both the gift of certainty and the equally important gift of separation, not from the dear things of life, but rather the old and often negative roads that we may have followed. In both worlds, it asks us to face change, to ask the burning question in order to be restored. So the phoenix symbolizes death and rebirth. And so you may be going through some sort of big change in your life or a subtle change in your life. But this tells you that you can survive this, that you don't need to be as harsh on yourself or others in judgment, and that things can be renewed, changed, or completely brand new. The choice is really yours. Our final shadow card is the Queen of Serpents or the Queen of Pentacles in this deck. The Queen of Serpents can be a powerful champion or a difficult partner, depending on the circumstance. She may be seen as an aspect of the inner personality which likes to be generous and supportive in all walks of life. Whether it be throwing an extravagant party or looking after a patient in a hospital, as wife or mother, the Queen wants only the best for her partner or her children, which may make her overprotective through the best of reasons. In the shadow realm, the Queen likes to tease and draw you into speculations that are not always as wise as you may think. She can be playful and possessive. Through her reasons for being so are generally honest. Humility tempers her occasional extravagance and makes her a worthy partner in life and work. So this Queen is somebody who she can be a little bit hard to deal with in the shadow side, in the simple fact that she really wants the best for everybody involved. But she's also going to call you out on your shit, and she's not going to sugarcoat it. She's going to bring the things to your attention that need to be addressed or need to be changed because she truly wants to see you succeed, be happy, healthy, and surviving well. So she's somebody who you really do want to take her advice. Sometimes it comes off a little bit harsh, but it's always with the best intentions. So if you find yourself dealing with maybe a parental figure or a boss or a mentor that maybe has your best intentions, but they don't always express it in the nicest of ways, that's trying to call your attention to the things that you really do need to address that need change. So to recap our shadow portion so far, we have somebody who maybe is a little ill-illusioned and needs a little bit more wisdom in life. And so instead of seeing things as tossable or something that we can just discard, you might need to pay a little bit more attention to the details. There's something in your life that needs balance, and whether that's giving things back to yourself or giving to others after first pouring into your own cup, you need to really find out what it is that's imbalanced and then be willing to make changes to address it. There's also a need for balance with the Queen of Swords. She has the ability to make clear, concise decisions and cut away the things, people, or circumstances that don't fit and need to be let go of or need change. The Devil really tells us that there's things that we're feeling stuck in, that we feel really trapped, stuck, bound. We might be dealing with addictions, codependency, and things that we have the ability to change if we really want to. The Tower, again, echoes that change is necessary, and things that you might be hesitating making a decision on are going to happen regardless. Indecision is still a decision. It's still a choice that you made not to act. The Two of Swords tells you that you're at a crossroads and that there is a decision that needs to be made. You have to see things clearly before you can make a clear, logical choice on what direction you want to take or what you want to do. The Knight of Swords is telling us that we need to be brave. We need to face these things head on, that we are capable of overcoming these challenges no matter what we're facing. The Hanged Man, again, tells us that we need to see things in a new light and that some sort of decision needs to be made to get us unstuck from where we currently are. There might be a lot of conflict, clashing egos, and definitely some things that are affecting us. Either financial issues at work, could be something to do with work drama or work chaos, conflicts and fighting, but we need to rise above that and let go of the stupid little arguments and the drama that's around us. The Chariot in the shadow side shows us that we are in a stuck, stagnant place, and that's echoed with the Hanged Man. So we really do need to see things differently in order to make better, clear decisions on what we need to do going forward. Judgment shows us that we can rise again from these destructive things that we're currently dealing with, that we can become brand new, that we can be reborn, and that we can transform the situation for the best. And the Queen of Serpents, she tells us that all things are possible to change, and if you are unwilling, she's going to bring it to your attention to show you the steps you need to take in order to transform this situation. All right, let's see how we rectify the situation and what do we need to know from our light side, the side that we show to the world. Queen of Wands, Knight of Cups, Two of Swords, Two of Wands, Judgment. It's funny how they start to echo the same cards, and it's usually how we rectify. 10 of Coins, 8 of Wands, Queen of Cups, let's see, 6 of Swords, 6 of Serpents, Temperance, and 2 of Cups. All right, we start with the Queen of Wands. The Queen of Wands is a powerful leader, a striking person who may have a strong theatrical aspect. She is so generous to a fault, sharing her resources and pushing you to greater effort. You may find yourself carried along by her tide of energy, her knowledge, and business acumen. She may also touch your heart with wonder. However, she can also be deceitful, so you should be careful in your dealings with her. As a creative and extremely sociable person, the Queen is perfectly placed to act as an advisor in matters of business and of the heart. She may seem flamboyant, but her dazzling style sees that both parties get heard. She has no time for restraint or opposition and will show you how to overcome those obstacles. She's a go-getter. She's somebody who is very courageous. She's somebody who takes life by the horns, so to speak, and she gets the job done. So she definitely commands a lot of attention, and she's got a very commanding presence, but she's got the drive to get the job done. So she's very beneficial to actually accomplishing your goals. Knight of Cups. The Knight of Cups dazzles us. He is someone of perfect gentleness and a spiritual darling. In the Grail story, he would be Galahad, and the knight is so perfect he is destined to win the mighty cup. In the ordinary world, he is an idealistic dreamer whose charms most people find hard to resist. A sense of otherworldly glamour hangs about him, a secret knowledge hidden just below the surface. His sense of vision is often accurate, and as a companion, he offers true guidance. Here is a guide who is second to none, a friend who is a rock upon which you may rest in time of need. His command of the moment and his sense of poise brings his own indications as to which road to follow. Who would not choose to follow this shining figure? So this one really indicates he's like the knight in shining armor. He is the sweetheart. He's very chivalrous, very romantic, very affectionate. He just lacks a little bit of courage, so he's a little bit shy. But he's somebody who, when he gathers his courage, he makes quite the impression on most people he encounters. Two of Swords. The Two of Swords traditionally signifies an impending breakup or a rift, and in readings, the adjoining cards will generally reveal what is moving away from what. The sense of being bound together with something or someone, when broken, can enable freedom of expression to return. The swords cut both ways. This often manifests as feeling of restraint and the inability to move ahead. Here the swords are enabling separation, the removal of something that brings trouble in its wake. It may mean that we are losing or have lost touch with someone or what we feel, restricted, stuck, or simply expressing differences of opinion. So this is about expressing yourself and expressing yourself in a way that both parties are heard equally. So if you feel restricted, there is something that is trying to be removed from your life in order to give you that clarity and that ability to speak freely again. So whether it's an oppressing situation in your life, whether you feel like you can't speak up and be heard, use the swords in order to speak freely. Just make sure you follow it through with tact. Two of Wands. Some commentators have compared the characteristics of this card with the figure of Alexander the Great, who is said to have wept when he had conquered the known world because there was nowhere else to go. In the wider sphere of meaning, we may see references to great achievements which have nonetheless resulted in stasis. The secret here is to find a way forward through the jungles of wealth and possessions that can so easily misdirect our goals. Some place negative interpretation on this card, but it can also stand for the rising of new possibilities. It may suggest a quarrelsome, angry person who tends to clash with those in authority. It may also be someone in a position of power, but above all, it represents partnership, planning, and getting properly started. So this is really deciding what you want for your future, deciding which path to take. Maybe you're trying to eliminate obstacles so that you can go forward to the future that you really want. Or there is possibility of relocation and travel with this card. But there's some sort of decision at the core of this that really needs to be followed through with, or there needs to be action taken and a decision actually made on what path or what direction you actually want to take. Judgment. For most readers, this card will be seen as a call to rise, not to heaven, but to a new direction or purpose in life. Rather, as in the Death card, it rarely refers to a physical state, but into an inner one. The question of judgment will be seen differently by each individual. Some will see this as referring to a judgmental figure or organization that has power over them. Others will see it as their own inner judge, setting out the pros and cons of the situation and requiring them to decide for themselves on the appropriate action to take. In most readings, judgment suggests the need for change. Just how radical will depend on the nature of the issue and the circumstances surrounding it. So like we had in the shadow side, judgment is about making choices or making changes. Sorry, my dog's in the room. And this is a card indicating that you are strong enough to make these decisions. You are strong enough to make changes. But you have to decide what it is that you really want before you set out on this journey. 10 of Coins, 10 of Serpents. Time has passed. Work has been accomplished. Goals have been met. This is the card that sums up all of those in this suit that have gone before. It literally encloses all the rest and represents the endless fixed and unchanged laws of the universe, maintained by the pattern of nature and the encircling serpents of time and space. This is the time to take stock, appreciate all you have done, and enjoy the fruits of your labor. This card is all about hearth and home, about the balancing of your own small kingdom. Your finances are secure, and you might be thinking about leaving a legacy to a child or partner or friend. From your position as head of the household, you look around you, remembering old victories and defeats. So sit and think about how far you've actually come. You might be working towards building some sort of legacy, some sort of abundance of wealth. There could have been a loss somewhere and you might be coming into a large sum of money, or this is something that you've worked really hard for, like maybe you're finally getting ready to retire and you get to enjoy what you've worked so hard for. In either regard, this is a sense of accomplishments, so take note of how far you've come and realize that you can pretty much do anything you really set your mind to. 8 of Wands. After the struggle of the previous cards comes a respite, the satisfaction of a job well done. It is time to rest and reflect. This card has long had a sense of going to the countryside for refreshment. Some commentators suggest that it speaks of falling in love, and this works well with the idea of taking time out to rest and review the innermost direction of your life. At such times, you have opportunity to notice the person who is special to you. Events may move quickly in your life, affecting all of your circumstances. Contracts may be completed ahead of time, perhaps connected to the purchase of a house. Nevertheless, you should consider every option, especially when it comes to apportioning your strengths. A defined path is opening up. So the Eight of Wands is typically about communication, and it's typically seen as the arrows of love. So it could be that someone's expressing their feelings to you, and these things transpire rather quickly. So be prepared that someone could communicate their feelings for you, and things could definitely take effect quickly. Queen of Cups. The Queen of Cups is not only a seer and visionary, but a close friend and confidant. A truth speaker, she may sometimes be a difficult companion because of her unerring ability to tell things as she sees them. But her compassion and honesty make her a valuable ally to whom we can turn to in times of crisis. She encourages honesty and the freedom to allow emotions full reign in the search for truth. Here is a kindly, loving, and devoted partner who brings comfort in times of stress and acts as a sounding board for trouble. Her support lends strength to those around her, and she holds the reins of the household firmly and efficiently during the leanest of times. Above all, she is here to help those in need. So the Queen of Cups could be a mother figure, she could be a partner, she could be somebody that you really trust, and she's somebody who is a very protective, nurturing, loving person. She also is somebody who can really be there for people when they're struggling. So you might be that person, or somebody like this might be in your life, but I call her the mama bear in tarot, and she's a fierce protector of those she loves. She's also really emotionally in tune, and she's really a nurturing energy to be around. Six of Swords. This card is all about journeying, whether away from or toward events, depending on the cards which flank it in the reading. The journey may take us toward a place where we can break free of old patterns, acknowledging fresh influences, or simply one of the great challenges of direction that take place in all of our lives from time to time. It suggests that we address the way that we are holding on to old ways of behaving or outworn patterns. There are many reasons why you may take a journey, and many destinations. You may visit another country, or move to a new place of work, or leave behind stale ideas or situations, moving toward a more satisfactory place. It also refers to general change and personal transformation. So the Six of Swords is typically seen as moving out of chaos and conflict into calmer waters. So this might be a literal move. This could be something where you're just breaking away from the situations that aren't good for you. But this is something where you're finally ready to make a decision to leave what isn't serving you behind and finally go forward into something that is much better suited for you. Six of Serpents, Six of Pentacles. The interpretation of this card has been seen as the giving of gifts to those less well off than us. Some have called this the Robin Hood card, where assets may not always have been come by directly, but where there is a desire to pass on the bounty. It represents the shared resources of a society or group, used for the good of all. All communities learn to value the commonwealth of a society which encircles everyone. Perhaps you have come into a windfall and decided to share it, either with deserving friends or a charity of your choice. Alternatively, you may be in the process of deciding who shall benefit from your wisdom, or who could succeed you in a role of authority. It isn't always money that is at an issue here. So this card's really telling you that if you have the ability to share your resources, then you should. You should be charitable to others. There's some amount of money or some sort of sudden windfall, could be raise or promotion, that is affecting you in a positive way. So if you're able to be generous, Spirit is always advising that you pay it forward and that you help those less fortunate than you. Temperance. Temperance is tossing out the content of a wine glass, or is it full of snakes? In the world of dawn light, it is the former, in twilight the latter, but both are filling as much larger cauldron with either content. Here lies an issue which makes this card perhaps the least well understood in our time because of its association with refraining from alcohol or excess. Yet we should remember that she is another of the 4 cardinal virtues, and of course means a great deal more than this, being more concerned with a balanced outlook on life and a restrained way of living. The origin of the word is Latin, tempere, meaning to exchange or mingle, hence the traditional tarot images of a woman pouring liquid from one vessel into another. While here we have made another twist on the original by replacing water and wine with wine and serpents. Even in the classic imagery, the meaning is more to do with the exchange of liquids, the mingling of 2 streams of energy, or even past and future influences, all to provide greater balance. Temperance thus represents a balanced view of life, and as capable of renewal in every of the darkest circumstances. This card is all about moderating your behavior, living your life temperately, balancing the past and future streams of activity, and learning to approach problems with due care and attention rather than rushing in and meeting every challenge aggressively. Imbalances in the body create the right conditions for illness and disease to flourish, so that living a balanced lifestyle is all important. In a reading, the card may indicate that you need to address this aspect of your life or confirm that you are already living in harmony with yourself and the universe. It also points to the wisdom of keeping things moving, of allowing the good exchange of ideas and feelings in any situation, whether work or love related. So again, this card is indicating that something isn't right, that you need to find the balance. Remember to pour into your own cup first. You've got to be full before you can give to another. So if that's out of balance, you're going to have boundaries, and you're going to have to be firm on those so that you aren't depleted. Remember, it's also a card telling you that you could be up for illness or some sort of disease if you aren't taking good care of yourself. So all things in balance. If you only eat fast food, your body is depleted of nutrients. If you are up all night and you don't sleep enough, your body is depleted. So you need to make sure that you are working in balance with the things that nature intended in order for your body to really function properly and find the balance within all aspects of your life. All right, our final card is the 2 of Cups. This card almost always represents love and harmony. The oldest imagery includes 2 vessels, which when placed side by side, flow into a single stream, nourishing everything around them. Redolent with romance, it shows us how we may navigate the meaningful streams of life and find harmony. The ripples spread outward beyond that of everyday relationships to include the circumstances of our life. The meaning is simple. It is all about love, harmony, closeness, attraction, partnership on every level. If marriage is contemplated, it is likely to be a good one. Relationship problems of any kind are mitigated by the energy of this card. You may also be looking to have a baby, which here it is likely to come soon. So this is a card of union. It's a card of emotional fulfillment, and it's a card of 2 people working together as one. So as they pour the two vessels into one, it becomes one stream, or the uniting of 2 individuals. So to recap our light side of the reading, we have the Queen of Wands. So there's a fire sign potentially that is trying to help you be able to realize and see your goals and be able to be confident in going after those goals. It could also have to do with love, and you might be lacking a little bit of courage, but this person is very genuine, very chivalrous, and really romantic. So there could be the potential for a younger water sign coming in with a love offer. There's also a decision to weigh. The 2 of Swords says that you need to make sure that you understand what you're doing. So take off any sort of blindfold and remove the blinders in order to see things clearly, and then decide which path you want to take. That's echoed by the 2 of Wands, stating that you are looking towards your future, but you have to decide which direction you want to take things, and you will soon have the world in the palm of your hands. So choose wisely. Judgment comes to level the playing field. Karma is dealt. Know that you can also rise from the ashes like a phoenix, and you can transform the situation if it doesn't turn out the way that you want it to. The 10 of Coins is a card that indicates that we are working towards our abundance, that you might be coming into some sort of legacy of wealth, some sort of inheritance, but the fruits of your labor soon will be enjoyed for all of your hard work. The Eight of Wands is about communication. It could be a love offer coming in for some of you, but things are gaining momentum and they are starting to change quickly. The Queen of Cups might be some sort of confidant, could be a mother figure. She's there to help nurture you, but she also wants you to see that the writing is on the wall, so you need to make wise decisions. She's very protective, very loyal, and very nurturing, so she might be a great person to have on your side. The Six of Swords is about overcoming conflict, and I feel like you need to make a decision, and when that decision is finally reached, you have to put some action behind it. It's leaving the conflict and chaos behind in your life so that you can go forward into where you're truly meant to be and into calmer waters. The Six of Coins is about money improvement. So if you've been in a place of lack, it tells you that things are starting to improve. You will soon have more than enough to go around and be able to help those less fortunate than you. So spend it wisely. Temperance is all about finding the balance within yourself, balance all around you, and taking good care and nurturing yourself. So remember to pour into your own cup before you give to another. And the Two of Cups is about union. So you could be thinking about a new relationship. You could be thinking long term. Maybe you want to get married or make some sort of proposal or commitment to another, where two become one and you become one with each other and one with the divine. That's what we have for your weekly shadow work. I hope it helps. Please only take what resonates and leave the rest. Have a good week, guys. We'll see you on Monday.